Gamers, we're back yet again. It feels so good to remember some of the Isaac terms that I had previously lost the time. Like, I'm remembering, what did I used to call it? When you have a great Isaac run, and then it's the whiplash of going from that great run into a run that might not be great. So you've built up, like, bad habits, and I always use the analogy, which I think of all the time when I'm driving, that if you drive like 60 kilometers an hour, it feels pretty fast. And then you go on the highway and you drive 110 kilometers an hour. And then you get to the exit, and the exit is 60 kilometers an hour, and it feels like you're not moving at all. That's one thing my driving instructor, like 21 years ago, drilled into me, is like when you are getting off of the highway, you know, we might end up playing that spike room yet again. When you're getting off of the highway, don't drive by feel. Always look at your instruments to know what you're doing. And a lot of people obviously did not take that advice to account. Because have you seen those videos of that intersection in Seattle that's just after the I-5 southbound when you enter the city? And people just... Because people on I-5 southbound, take it from someone who's been in the area a decent amount. People on I-5 southbound are driving, like, I don't know, maybe like 90 miles an hour, and then there's like a, please slow down when you get to this exit. There's like a blind exit after a tunnel, and people are just flipping their cars over non-stop, man. Wait, this could be kind of awesome. The only thing is, I don't want to, I gotta lock in. The most important thing, I can't believe I didn't make it through there. The most important thing here is save your D6 charge, because if we have enough hearts, we're going to want to play the self-sacrifice room and re-roll the key piece from the angel. And if we're going to do that, we would want the pony, because the pony allows us to get more stuff. We want to use our bombs to find a second secret room, and hopefully there's hearts in it. Like, there's a lot of ifs here. There's a lot of conditionals, don't get me wrong, but I do think that there's a chance, man, that there might be more than meets the eye right here. We could also use... Let me just see here. I was thinking we could buy a key there. Tough. At a minimum, I think if we're gonna consider the thought of playing a self-sacrifice room, you start with this. Gives you the coupon. We'll come back for the coupon. I know it sounds a little crazy, but we can set up a better condition for ourselves to use the coupon. And then the second secret room is, I think it's more likely to be here. And that's exactly the room we're looking for. Okay, it's on. Like, honestly, just finding that room means it's on. Now we can freaking party, bro. So you go like this and like this. Get a little coin. Probably play one more of these. You feel blessed. I don't really know what that means. Now, is this me figuring out how to play Isaac again? Have I just been ignoring this element? We should try this. How dare you? Imagine if... Well, I was going to say imagine if that could have killed me, but I don't think that it could have killed me. This first floor with the self-sacrifice room and the second secret room is like, it's changing the game for us, bro. It's setting us up so nicely for the future. A little bit more money. This is where I think... Because we're not going to have enough D6 charges to go around. That's a given. So I think what you want to do is buy cheap items so that the coupon gives you a more expensive item. But now that I think about it, like, why... It's not like we even want Trinket Smelter. So you could re-roll it, but we're saving our re-roll for the key piece. So you see... Oh, that's so awesome. That bomb is so awesome, man. Perhaps you see my point, and perhaps I've done a poor job of explaining it, but like... Look at just by doing a little extra work on this floor instead of leaving immediately, look at the access we've given ourselves, man. Look at what we blew this thing wide open. Not to mention, you could still pay out with a bunch of spirit hearts. So I don't even know what stem cell does, but it's probably worth, at the very least, paying 10 cents for 10 cents worth of stuff and then using coupon to grab the smelter to then smelt the coupon. And life imitates art. Now that I have used the pony, I can't get used to not having the speed upgrade from the pony. It just doesn't feel like I'm moving the way I'm supposed to be moving. Now, just to make sure we don't find ourselves in a horrible position here, let's go grab these 2 hearts. We have infinite bombs that we can use against the angel, which is going to make this easy. We'll go back, get the d6, reroll the angel item. Then we can make a decision about how we feel about holding the pony. I mean, obviously, I'd rather keep the d6. Well, honestly, just saying it out loud was enough to, like, convince me. We should keep the d6 and get used to your speed just being a little bit lower, which is totally fine. And then we want to play this one time. Okay, so again, we spend like 7 minutes on the first floor. Don't accidentally bump into that, please. Spend 7 minutes on the first floor, but I honestly think it's like 7 minutes for a great cause. And we could reroll 2 shop items, but I think I would rather turn a relatively useless pedestal into a possibly goated angel deal item, and then just accept that we're not taking anything else out of the shop. And we still did very well for ourselves. That's not really the item I'm looking for, but it's something. So in the long run, what did we get out of that? Lots of money, a regen trinket, a spirit heart, and the experience of spending time together. And the finger, I forgot about the finger. I mean, it's not useless, man. It would be a great compliment to a good run. I don't know if it's incredible. Oh, never mind, I'm not mad anymore. I'm not mad anymore. That's awesome. Of course we'll take this. You shouldn't have. I thought the old lady threw it into the ocean at the end, man. Maybe we have gotten a little lucky today, but I also feel like there have been a decent amount of runs where I've had maybe slightly below average luck. Let's not say like really, really bad luck, but it felt like when I came back to Isaac, especially on Twitch, and part of this is probably just like playing worse, playing lazier because you're also bantering, and then also, you know, that leads to less good items, which leads to less opportunities to get deals with the angel, deals with the devil, which leads to, you know, it kind of snowballs. Or like, I guess if it's a snowball, it's the opposite. Because it's moving in the negative direction, it kind of melts. You know, once it starts to melt, there's less cold matter cooling the ice down, which causes it to melt even faster. Not to, you know, go first reformed on anybody. I think we're going to stay right here. And I think we're going to reroll our deal with the devil. Or maybe just pick it up if it's good. You are pretty good, but without the ability to generate more spirit hearts, I don't think we can make you work right now. Anyway, sorry, I'm let's playing too much, man. I am looking forward to the weekend. Today is Thursday. This video may not go up until like a Monday or something like that. So I'm always wary of being like, I can't wait for this weekend just in case I end up like dying. And if that would be really embarrassing, because I'm sure in the YouTube comments they would be like, this dude really wants us to believe he's excited for the weekend that he ended up dying during? Does he think we're stupid, man? Does he expect us to believe that? Bro, you literally die this weekend. Don't be excited. So I hope that doesn't happen. If only for that reason. I would hate to have egg on my face over that. But I'm excited because I think we obviously open this. I think the older you get, time moves much differently. And I do believe that the way that people think of it is probably exactly the reason that it starts to move differently. Namely, if you take a unit of time such as 1 year, to me at age 37, a year feels like a year when you're living it. But when you think back, it doesn't feel like that much time has passed because it's like less than 3% of the time that I've been on planet Earth. Whereas my daughter, who is 5, for a year to pass, she has to live essentially like an extra 20% of her time on Earth. If, you know, 20% of my lifespan is like almost 8 years at this point. An 8-year period is like really long. even at my age, 8 years still feels pretty long. So I understand that it changes, but I also, you start to think about the passage of time differently. Now, this is all a roundabout way of me saying that last weekend was great, but we had people over at our house. So if you're my age, having people over at your house can be one of those things that can throw a monkey wrench into a fortnightly period. I'm not going to say it would throw a monkey wrench into your whole month. And by the way, I don't even know what this does, to be clear. But by the way, we had a great time, and I hope that the people who came to our house will come over again, and we'll continue to enjoy beautiful fresh fruits together and home-cooked meals and macarons and stuff like that, San Pellegrino, etc., etc. But I remember what it was like in university, man. They drop you a Facebook Messenger message. Hey, you want to hang out tonight? Sure. Not for a second do you think, I should clean the house. I should move this stuff. I haven't dusted in a while. Let me get this stuff over. They were just, they came over. You handed them a James Ready 5.5 and you were good to go. But when you reach my age, it's much different. We knew a week in advance that people were going to be coming over. So we started the cleaning a little bit early. And then we thought, hey, this will probably take like an hour, 2 hours to clean. But the more you clean, it's like cleaning is very Moorish, As soon as you get your house to what would normally be your standard of cleanliness, you're like, oh, but now that it's clean, I see all this other stuff that the house was too dirty to notice before. All this other dirty stuff that needs to be cleaned that I only couldn't see because our house was even dirtier than I thought it was in advance. If you catch my drift. So that can eat up an afternoon easily, man. Let me get this real quick. And then you're getting a very fun time when the people are over, but after the people are over, then it's all the tidying up. I must have done like 90 minutes straight of dishes after people left because we were eating off of the nice stuff that doesn't do well in the dishwasher. People were drinking libations out of irregularly shaped glasses and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it was a great way to spend a Sunday. But I didn't get my normal Sunday, which is a little bit, it's got kind of like, get some administrative work done, but then also during the time when my daughter's in an activity or she's at grandma's house, maybe get a little, like an hour and a half of couch time or something like that. So it's a roundabout way of saying I'm really looking forward to my hour and a half of couch time, I guess. Do I know for sure that I'm going to get it? No, but that's where the passage of time changing factors in, because I don't need to get it every weekend. If I could just get it, like, if I just know that it's on the horizon, like, that's enough methadone to keep me going, I think, until it actually shows up. And sometimes you think you're only going to get 90 minutes, and you end up getting 150 minutes of it. It's not all bad. It's not all bad anyway, because you're usually doing stuff that's, like, important or at least, like, has a meaning to you, but sometimes you end up getting a little bit more couch time than you expect. And I gotta see how the Broncos do without Bo Nix, man. I gotta know. I'm assuming that's on Sunday. I don't know. It could be on Saturday. If it's on Saturday, it's a total wash. If it's on Saturday, then I will be occasionally refreshing tsn.ca to see how things are going. Even though I don't have a team in the race. Even though I do kind of root for the Seahawks because they're close. If I had to choose a team, I would of the ones remaining especially, I would choose the Seahawks. I don't want to be one of those guys. Not to make this sports again, I apologize. But I don't know how to do it I don't know how to do it for Dungeons & Dragons. Like, I don't know what being a pick-me in Dungeons & Dragons looks like. But I know what being a pick-me in sports looks like. It looks like my least favorite sports team is actually the one that roots for me. Oh, you would have thought that because I'm from this area, I would root for the local sports team. Actually, I hate the local sports team. I hope the local sports team loses. I root for different sports team, their biggest rival. Why, did you grow up there? No, I grew up here. And have lived here my entire life. It might not be that serious, to be clear. I'm a root for your guys type of fella. And I firmly believe when you move to a new city, well, let's start from base principles. I think it's a privilege to be able to live in a city that has a professional sports team or is within relatively close distance to a professional sports team in a league that you enjoy. Let's start there. Ergo, I find it insulting to live in that city and not at least a little bit root for the team that's in there. That's like you're slapping God in the face, in my opinion. I don't care if you live in Cleveland, man. If you live in Cleveland, you got to at least have a pure hope in your heart that the Browns will do better next year. Why? Because you live in Cleveland. The Browns being good is good for you. It's good for the people you know. It's good for your friends. It's good for your family. It's good for your coworkers. It's good for your community. It's good for your environment. You should be rooting for the success of your franchise. Now, I know that doesn't matter. Like, you don't have control over the front office decisions or, like, you know, Shedeur Sanders' attitude or whatever. But still, I believe this. Now, I'm willing to carve out some exceptions here, but you have to be, oh my God, it's the greatest day of my life. You have to be a little bit patient with me. We're guppy. We're guppy with 9 lives, bro. This is huge. The first exception and most obvious exception, the franchise which you follow has done something egregious. In that case, I don't think you have an obligation to stop rooting for that franchise. Do you have an obligation to stop rooting for the Houston Astros because they may have cheated in the World Series? If you live in and around the Houston area, you have no obligation. Why? Because you're not on the team. You're not endorsing cheating to win a World Series. You just happen to cheer for the guys that are close to where you're from. Your hands are completely clean of the scandal. Similarly, if you root for a team that is maybe engaged in some potentially criminal behavior, if you're from the local area, Chicago, and you still want to root for the Blackhawks, I think you can, because you didn't do that stuff. And to be honest with you, some people may disagree. I think most people will probably agree, but you didn't do the stuff. The people on the team did the stuff. You shouldn't be punished by having to lose your favorite sports team that you have fond memories of just because someone else involved with it did something that didn't have anything to do with you. That to me does not seem fair to you, even though I wish nothing but ill for the Chicago Blackhawks franchise and its fans. I'm not from there, so I have the luxury of saying that. So that's full stop. Now, if you're from another part of the country or the world, you might have to reconsider, but I don't know. I'm not an expert in that subject. The second obvious carve-out to the home team rule that you should root for the team, or at least have positive vibes towards the team in the city in which you're living, is if you move to that city after being a diehard fan of another league, another team within the same league. Obviously, we gotta open that. What I mean by that, I'll use an example from my own life. I did not grow up in Vancouver. I grew up in Ontario. At the time I grew up in Ontario, I would say there's a lot of different NHL teams that people rooted for. But the three most common were the Ottawa Senators, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Montreal Canadiens. You know, Montreal's still pretty close to a lot of Ontario, including where I grew up. And it's just like, at that time, you're being raised by parents who were raised in the Leafs or the Montreal Canadiens fandom, essentially, because it was when Canada had a lot less teams. So you choose one. And I chose the Bleu Blanc et Rouge as a kid, or it was chosen for me. A lot of people will also root for, like, you know, the Red Wings or something like that, maybe even the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, more power to them, but they're not part of this conversation. After moving to Vancouver, I had a little conversation with myself, and I said, am I going to root for the Montreal Canadiens still in Vancouver, or am I going to root for the Vancouver Canucks? And I said, you know what? I think it could go either way for some people, but I consider it a great honor to live in a city that actually has a sports team, like locally. So I'm going to pivot to a Canucks 1A, Montreal 1B, or a Canucks 1, Montreal 2 type situation. I think that's the carve-out that I feel most comfortable with. By the way, you can literally root for any sports team you want to, but this is to do so without at least receiving my judgment, which may mean nothing to you and perhaps should. Rock bottom is awesome, right? Your stats can't get worse, they can only get better. So far, so good, I guess. You can do whatever you want. This is not that serious. These people are being paid like millions of dollars to play a game. So obviously it ain't that serious. You shouldn't be mad about it. Let me see what's going on here. Nothing good, man. Nothing good. Nothing good. I think even though we have not... Well, you get 9 lives, grab one of these, and then die. But the problem is I just don't want any of those items. So the carve-out, to put it in less ambiguous terms... If you don't need to root for the local... your favorite sports team does not have to be your local sports team if you already rooted for a previous sports team before that. However, and American football fans are going to hate this one, even if I was a Montreal Canadiens fan first and a Vancouver Canucks fan second, I think I have an obligation to raise any of my children as default Vancouver Canucks fans, which is really like a curse. It's generational trauma because they're so trash. But you're going to say, why? Why? That doesn't make sense. Of course it makes sense. They're born and raised in Vancouver, bro. It's a privilege to live in the city with the sports franchise, so they should root for the one that's local. Although I will say, now that I'm on this really early schedule, sorry, I swear we're getting off the sports talk. Oh my god, it spun. Greatest day of my life. And I can see forever. Now that I'm on this early schedule, it would be an awesome time to root for the Canadiens. Not just because they have an exciting young hockey team, but also because when you're on Pacific time, Eastern time teams play their games at 4 p.m., which is a beautiful time to start watching a sporting event because it's over like right after you eat dinner. That's perfect, man. It's a dream come. And then you could re-up if you wanted to watch the 7 p.m. games, but that's tough for a guy like me because I like to be in bed by about like 8:45. So, and I'm not being like misrepresenting myself for humor in that sense. It really would be a dream for me to consistently be in bed and closing my eyes at 8:45. But anyway, so that's, I promise you, in case you're mad, I didn't mean to spend half the episode talking about when it's okay and when it's not to root for a sports franchise. It just, honestly, the run got so good so fast, and I had so much more meat on the bone than I thought I would, that I didn't know until it was too late. And it had to be said. For some reason, it had to be said. You know what? I think we commit here. I think given this now, it's very difficult to imagine a loss. Weirdly enough, I think it's not quite as good as our last run, but it's still pretty darn good. But yes, I did mean what I said, by the way. It ain't that serious. You can root for whatever sports franchise you want. And you know what? If you were rooting for the Astros and you lived in Houston, and then the cheating scandal happened, and you went, I'm not going to root for these guys anymore. They're phonies. More power to you. I'm just saying I don't think you have to. A game theory. I don't know why I thought that would just be an awesome sting to indicate that I'm at like the end of that conversational rope. See you next time. You think they're mad they didn't call it 6-7 Nights at Freddy's? Oh man, nah, you're crazy for that one. Bro, chill. Scott Hawthorne might be listening right now. Scott Hawthorne might be watching. Scott, that one's on the house. Let me hit you with another one. This one's for free as well, because I want to see it made. 5 days at Freddy's. Yeah, that's right. What would it be? Honestly, I don't know enough about Five Nights at Freddy's to even make a joke about what it would be. I think maybe, from knowing what I know, the night is when the animatronics come to life and wreak havoc, at least on Josh Hutcherson. So the day, maybe it's just like the coin game style, like carnival simulator. Like you're just at Chuck E. Cheese playing the games and stuff like that. Hey, could be a pretty good vibe. We definitely want this. With rock bottom, is it possible that this can't be bad for us? I don't know if it ever could be bad, but I feel like if it carried negative stats, then rock bottom would make it even better, right? Like anything with the trade-off if you have rock bottom, is no longer a trade-off. It's a trade-up. I think. But again, you're not talking to the right fella for that. All I know how to do is shoot the bullets and dodge the enemies. I don't know the broader, the finer points of putting another bee in your bonnet or whatever. Oh, great, great, I lost perfection. Now I have to walk down the street free of perfection. You know what I'm talking about? Fans of Fugazi? I know, it feels like it's been a while since the Fugazi arc. We've had 2 full arcs since the Fugazi arc. Bob Dylan and Steely Dan. Who would this is the natural progression. First you get into Fugazi, then you say, you know what? Let's see, it reminds me a lot of another certain political artist out there. And then after listening to the raw vocal stylings of the unpolished Bob Dylan, you're like, you know what I want? The smooth jazz rock sensibilities of Donald and Walter. And you know what's crazy? They're all goats, man. They're all goats. You think in the, like, 13th century... Sorry, I gotta hit you with a bunch of, like, rapid-fire jokes now because we're getting to the end. You think there were ever people who were like, oh, I like all genres of music except for klezmer and... I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm like a bit of an old soul. I listen to everything. I don't really mess with klezmer, though. I like everything but klezmer and baroque. Bro, you look like you're from baroque. Anyway. We made it, bro. I mean, these were 2 short episodes, but they were 2 good episodes. And I think we really learned the value of the Spike Room. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, click the like button. That said a great deal. Subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Later!